I'm Rachel Alday, and this is the Hospitality Breakroom, a podcast full of nuggets and secret sauce, where every Monday we'll shed light on what we've learned from the countless mistakes we've made along our journey in the chaotic and rewarding world of vacation rentals. Hello, and welcome back to the Hospitality Breakroom. Today, I have Chris Beckett with me, and Chris is someone who, in our office, we sometimes refer to as Crispy, because we talked about this on the last episode, actually, with Tilly, because right now we only have one Chris,
Yep, just one
but
Chris
we
right
used to
now.
have two Chris's.
Yep.
And so when we had more than one Chris, we had Chris B and Chris W, and then Chris B became Crispy, which is funny. So that's who's here today. And Chris works on our reservation sales team. And so Chris came to Abode from Ski Butlers. Sorry. Sometimes I get confused because there's a couple of companies that deliver skis, and Ski Butlers is like our major partner and has been for years, and someone where we end up getting a lot of employees, or we did for like a period of time. Please don't kill us, Ski Butlers, we're sorry. But there's another town, and I sometimes like forget, and I'll be like, is it like I'm in my head, like, is it Ski Tuxedo, Ski Butler? Okay, anyway, Ski Butlers. So Chris, how long have you been with Abode?
5 years.
Years.
Yep.
So I'm like always telling people how proud I am that we have people that have worked here for a long time. And I'm always saying like, yeah, we have a lot of people that have worked for Abode for like 3, 4, 5, 6, like 10 years. And then sometimes I feel like I may be exaggerating that because I exaggerate a lot. It's just part of my nature. But I'm not.
No.
Yeah. Okay. So do you want to talk about like maybe your background and what led you to come to Abode?
Yeah. So I worked for Ski Butlers for a few years and met my friend Blaine there, who is actually the connection. I feel like it's a small world connection that always brings people to Abode, which is great, which we'll also kind of
Definitely
we'll bring that up later, I'm sure. But Blaine, you guys had reached out to Blaine through Tilly, because Tilly was Blaine's landlord. And so Tilly said, hey, would you like to work for Abode? And he said, I'm actually going to do another year at Ski Butlers, but my friend Chris has all the same qualifications and would love to work. And so I took the job. And
Such a good story.
And that was right before COVID. It was November before COVID. And then everything shut down. We pared down to a 7-person team and then built back up from there. And now we're modern Abode.
Right? So I wonder what the next version of Abode will be.
Yeah.
Can you only imagine?
Hopefully it doesn't take another pandemic.
No, I think it's going to be something else better. I feel like instead of the bookcase, we have like, well, it's a very rudimentary family tree of Abode. We should probably like make a fancier one. I feel like we should have it like engraved on wood, like in a sign. I'm serious. And like with those plaques, you could add more to it, because it would be really cool to show like behind us, which I know that, I like to pretend like we have thousands of listeners and maybe we just have a few, or maybe we'll be getting thousands. And I also feel like no one ever watches podcasts except for me. I watch podcasts on do you ever watch podcasts on YouTube? You don't? Helen, Helen's in the room too. She's always here. Helen, do you ever watch a podcast? Okay. So I actually listen on Apple Podcasts, but I do watch, like I watch some of the podcasts when they have it on YouTube. I don't know why, but I do.
Yeah.
And if maybe someday like 2 people will watch us on YouTube, and then if we had the family tree, then because we always talk about how everyone came to Abode, and then you could like see it.
It'll give context. Yeah.
Anyway, it's just an idea. Helen, maybe we could like see. That's probably really expensive to like have an engraved tree. Like I grew up
Start
Jewish.
with the chalkboard.
I grew up Jewish. And if you've ever been to a temple, have you ever been to a temple?
Yeah.
Sometimes they have like a tree of life and they have like donors' names on plaques. I think that's why that's in my head from my childhood. But I kind of picture like a tree with like bronze plaques with everyone's names, where you can see how we all like, I don't know, just a weird idea I just had right now. So I'm sharing it. Okay. So clarification too on Ski Butlers. So Ski Butlers is like an amazing company that has grown and then got bought by Alterra, which owns Deer Valley and a bunch of other ski resorts and stuff. But Ski Butlers was like a really cool company that came up. How old are they? Did they come up? They start when we started, around the same time?
Maybe a little bit. No, probably around the same time.
Yeah. And so like they do ski gear delivery, obviously in ski towns, and they expanded to like everywhere. And they have really, really good training, or they did. I think they probably still do. I don't know.
Yeah.
But they had like really, really good training. And so we ended up that like a bunch of people from Ski Butlers started working here, and it was really cool because they had like it wasn't the exact kind of training, but it was like a really good basis for what we do. And it ended up that we ended up with like a bunch of Ski Butlers people here.
Yeah.
How many?
You spend a lot of times in high-end homes with high-end clients.
Yes.
So even if the training, which the training we did was mostly how to turn the DIN screws on a binding, but it also, there was, how to speak with high-end clients and how to dress and, how to show up to their very nice home. And, the people who did well there knew how to converse with these clients and knew how to act. Ultimately just doing that job, gave me a lot of experience with that sort of clientele.
It's such a good company, and like it ended up being a great place for us to get some employees from. But I don't want them to think that we steal all their employees, because I feel like that was like an era, but we haven't had that many since then. Like since a while back, like 5 years.
Yeah.
Okay. So Chris had been with Ski Butlers and then came to Abode, and then you can get into it more. I always do this, like, woo, way off and then come back. So, okay. So he was with Ski Butlers. He came to Abode in an operations role.
Yes.
Okay. So go ahead.
Yeah. So I came to the operations department and spent time in the field, going to our homes, doing minor maintenance tasks. I ended up being the guy who was tech savvy. So I fixed a lot of home AV systems and TVs and Wi-Fi troubleshooting, stuff like that. Eventually COVID came around and we pared down, and I was the sole operations team member for a few months while we kind of figured out how to best play this. And after that, we brought we brought Chance back on. I'm sure at some point Chance will be on the podcast.
Yeah, because we were first recording like some remote episodes, and now we've decided we want them to be like in person as much as we can.
Yeah.
And Chance, who's been on our team for 5 years?
Yeah, same amount of time.
Same. Okay, for 5 years. He recently moved to California, so we have to wait till he comes back to town, which he has been like here and there, but not enough. And then we can record with him. Sorry, go ahead.
No, but so that's kind of where I made my transition into reservations role, because with the COVID shutdown, Park City just absolutely boomed with people being able to work from home. And so they wanted to rent homes, and you can't travel abroad at the time. So everybody was looking domestically for their vacations. And so we had an absolute boom in reservations, and we needed some support with that. So I kind of hopped into that role with Tilly. And we worked as a team for 4 years, for almost 5 years, before kind of reshaping our sales team as we brought more people back to deal with our online bookings, direct bookings. Now I'm here.
Wait, we should talk about, I think we've brought this up. I think we brought it up with Tilly.
I think the first time.
Oh, but so maybe not. Okay. Yeah. So sorry, I have a cold, and sorry.
And I can explain it too.
Okay. Yeah. So will you explain like how we have our sales team set up, or how we did and how we do now, I guess.
Yeah.
So that, because I think it's interesting and different than most companies. And I think people might like be interested in how we do that, just because I know I'm interested in how other companies do it, just to like look at a perspective of like, what are my options that are out there?
Yeah. And it totally, I think it works for our volume and the way our company's set up with 3 different markets, with Park City being the main market. But for the longest time, we were just Park City, and then we expanded to Jackson Hole, and then we've just recently expanded to Sun Valley, Idaho. And so Tilly was handling all of our reservations in Jackson Hole and in Park City for a long time. And when I came on, I assisted with that. And so just the 2 of us handled those bookings. And then we also had Mark and then eventually Chance handle our direct bookings. So anybody who booked on VRBO, Airbnb, and all of our travel agent bookings.
That's how much our direct bookings grew.
Our direct bookings grew dramatically over the course of like,
because Mark could handle it on his own. Like at first there was no one that we needed. We didn't even have enough that like we needed a person, and then Mark was doing it, and then it was too much. Do you want to tell them too, like when we say direct bookings, what do we mean? And also like, what do our team members that deal with direct bookings, like what do they actually do? Because we'll explain that. Because I think
so Tilly and I would handle anybody who called in. Basically, I would say anybody who asks first, then shoots. And then Mark and Chance would handle anybody who shoots then asks.
Mm-hmm.
And so anybody who calls in or emails in, asks questions about the homes, about our portfolio, or just, says, hey, I want to come to Jackson Hole, do the rest for me. Tilly and I would assist with all that. And then Mark and Chance would reach out to any guest who had booked through VRBO, through Airbnb, as a travel agent, via a travel agent, or any other method, and make sure they were all set up with everything that they needed. Put them in touch with a concierge, get their travel information, their arrival information, and so it really worked well for many years to have it segmented like that.
Yeah.
So that Tilly and I would work as a team, and we'd have 7 days a week coverage.
And like a focus on closing, really.
Yeah. And so when people would call in, we would, help them find the right place and, find, find the right place.
As a closer, I mean, to me, it's like, there's different kinds of salespeople. There's like salespeople that are more, because it's hospitality and it's guest services, either way you shake it. But some people, like Tilly, I think is like a quintessential closer mindset, which is like, she's driven she feels successful. She feels like she had a good day when she has closed sales, when she has gotten people to buy the thing that she's selling.
Yeah.
Whereas like some other people feel like they had a good day when they've like helped people in general, and just like, maybe it's not about the closing, but it's more about like taking someone who doesn't know what they want and helping them figure out what they want, or making them happy when they're unhappy or whatever. And so we had taken Tilly and Chris, and their role was to handle the reservation sales that needed closing. So people that called in, emailed in, texted in, whatever, or that were on Airbnb and VRBO messaging, and that they were like trying to make a decision, and Tilly and Chris were there to like help them make that decision. And like, before they went and looked somewhere else, get them to book today, like help them, if they can't make their choice, help them make that choice and get it done so they can move on with the rest of the stuff they need to do. And then Mark and Chance were not as much of a closing mindset. And so they were more about like, people already went online, they already decided what they wanted, they already bought it. And then their job was to help make sure that person picked the right house. They didn't pick a house that wouldn't work for them, and then help make sure we get all their arrival info and stuff. Am I explaining it right? Okay.
Exactly. And I think Tilly and I worked very well as a team because Tilly's lived in town since I was born, literally.
Right? Oh my God, that's crazy.
Isn't that crazy? Because through Ski Butlers and through the other jobs that I've had, I have a very in-depth knowledge of the resorts. I've also been up to Jackson probably more than anybody else.
Yeah, you're right.
And I've been up to Sun Valley more than anybody else.
Yeah.
So I know these towns very well. So I have, obviously Park City, literally insider knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And then in Jackson, a decent knowledge of those other markets.
Right.
And so Tilly and I can work really well where she can begin the conversation, or I can begin the conversation. I can give all of my expert knowledge on to give them confidence in our ability to book them in the right house.
Yeah.
Through like telling them all the different restaurants they should eat at on Main Street and what ski runs they should ski while they're here.
And not because you're like reading off a list, but because like you are telling them your actual personal opinion.
Exactly.
Because authenticity in vacation rentals, especially luxury, is like so key. That's secret sauce.
It gains their trust.
Authenticity is like the game changer. Like that is, I think when you look at like all different companies out there, and especially like maybe some bigger ones or ones that have like say funding and they're growing fast, and maybe they're wondering like, how do I get that special sauce? Like, how do I get that thing that some of these other more successful companies have that like, maybe someone newer is thinking like, how do I achieve that? I think 9 times out of 10, like so often it's like they're lacking the authenticity, especially if they're trying to be in a bunch of markets at once really quickly. It's like, you don't know what you're talking about firsthand. People can tell.
One of the number one questions that I get is when people get on the phone with me is, are you in Park City?
Right.
And I say, yep. And it's snowing outside right now. I can tell you that, I'm not just looking at a forecast.
Right.
I'm not, I haven't just looked at Google Street View of the town.
Like, I'm going skiing tomorrow morning. Yeah.
And so that instantly gives that person trust in my ability to do my job.
Because people, when they're traveling more and more, and especially in the luxury sector, that's what they're looking for. Because it's like, luxury doesn't mean anything to a lot of people anymore, the word, or high end. Like, what does that even mean? Because everyone uses these words. And so it's like, when you boil it down, when you look at enough information or you talk to enough people, it really means authenticity, like genuine hospitality. Like really, people want to feel like they go to that place and they leave like they're a little bit of a local. And they can't have that if the place where they're staying and the people that are providing the hospitality aren't locals. And so like they want that local, they want to like understand. Because how many times do people say to you when you're booking something, it's like, oh, I wish I had your life. Like I wish I was there right now. I wish. People say it all the time. And that could be like someone who has $50 million in their bank account and they wish they're us. Like that's insane. Because here we are, like, whatever, like scrambling around, like, whatever, doing dirty work basically. And like, working our butts off and grinding away for some dollars. And there they are. They have all the dollars, but they just wish they could be here grinding away with us, like in the mountains, whatever, in the snow. And so I think it's really important to be able to be the one who's actually doing what they think you're doing.
Right.
And I think that people can tell when you're pretending,
Absolutely.
I think that makes a huge difference. Okay. Sorry. I digress yet again.
No, I think that was right on track with what we were talking about.
Okay. But so I know you wanted to talk about company culture because we are like pretty obsessed at Abode. We're actually having some meetings this evening, where we're going to talk about some company culture stuff. And it's been like a really big thing for us since right before COVID, I think, right? Isn't that when this all started? Like right before COVID is when my husband, Rob, and I, who own the business together, we started this together, and we were never into company culture. I don't know. We just were anti everything that felt corporate. And company culture to me was something I learned about when I worked for Coca-Cola and McDonald's, like big marketing jobs. And I just thought it was so annoying, honestly. And so I was like averse. And then there was a point in our business where we realized we had like so many good people like Chris working here, and we had no idea how that happened. Like, sure, you could say like, well, you stole people from Ski Butlers, but but like, no, I mean, it was more than that, right? There was somehow all these people came here and like we were having fun and working really hard, and we didn't know how we did that and how we were going to keep it going. And that's when we started working on company culture. And I think it's worked out pretty good, although it's constantly a work in progress. But I know that Chris had mentioned to me that he loves the company culture and he wanted to talk about that. So I don't know if you want to start like,
sure.
Like, okay, do you have a point to start at about that topic?
Well, I mean, kind of coming from my origin story.
Okay, yeah. The crispy origin story. It's so crispy.
Blaine referred me to Abode because he was going to do another year at Ski Butlers. And then ultimately I ended up referring Blaine back to Abode.
Right.
Which is just too funny.
The circle of life.
The circle of Abode.
Yes.
But I think almost all of Abode employees have come from referrals.
Uh-huh.
And so and I'm sure this has probably been touched on in other podcasts, but there's a sense of, and I'm not going to say family because I think that's overused. And yes, there absolutely
is. I say it all the time.
Sure. Yes. But I like the idea that, everybody has skin in the game. It's not just, you're not just showing up to a job.
Yes.
You're showing up to a place that you work with, people that your friends. And ultimately it's a network of people that are like-minded.
Yeah.
And I think that's super important. Obviously you can get some awesome people from just normal recruiting.
Yeah.
But I think the referral process that we use is just works really well. And I think also that kind of leads to a really good, and you guys have set this up.
Mostly by accident until we met Lenny and her.
It's a great accident. You guys have kind of fostered this community of like understanding that not everybody, people aren't necessarily here because of their passion for huge homes.
Wait, so I think this is like really important.
Yeah.
Like, because in our industry, most of the companies that are doing what we're doing, they're in resort market. I mean, look, there was like a little bit of a time where I feel like people were opening up big vacation rental companies in like satellite markets or whatever you want to call it, like Columbus, Ohio and Cincinnati and like or urban places or whatever. But really it's getting back to it's resort market. It's like people are going to travel to places by the water, by the mountains, whatever, like travel destinations. And when you're operating a business in a resort or travel destination, people don't move there because they could go there and make money. Like it's like very rare that people move to Park City because they're like, oh my God, I'm moving to Park City because it's not like I just got the best investment banking job or like I just got a job at some huge attorney's office or like, that's not who's coming here.
Right.
It's like people come here because they're like, I visited this place, whether it's Park City or like Destin, Florida or whatever. And like, I love it there and I just want to live there.
Right.
I think, I don't know. Does this happen to you? Anytime I travel anywhere for a vacation, there's a few moments or like a day during my trip where I'll be like, I kind of want to look at real estate. Like, I kind of love it here. I wonder if you have like
All the
that
time.
moment. Yeah. Where you're like, I think I could live here. Then you usually like snap out of it and you're like, okay, no, can't do that. Especially for me now. It's like, I have 3 kids and like businesses and like, we're not moving to like whatever, Amelia Island in Florida or something. But I think so that's like human nature that you think about moving to the place, but you generally don't do that. But the people that do move to the places where they went and they loved it, they're not going there because they're like, okay, I want to go there and I want to work like 12 hours a day. And no, they want to go do the stuff that they did on their trip.
Right.
And so then I think that was a huge realization for Rob and I. That might not been as much by accident. I think that's probably the one company culture thing we thought of.
It was intentional.
Yeah, because we were like, people are not moving here because they are kind of going to come here for some kind of a specific career. They're coming here because they want to ski. So like we have to make all the jobs work with some flexibility so people can actually ski when it's snowing and do the things they want to do.
Yeah.
Okay. I did
no,
the thing
that,
I do always do that. But
that's, I was, singing your praise a little bit there. And I'm glad that you said all that because I think it's super important for also retention. If you give the team respect that, that you understand that they're here to enjoy the mountains because we live in the mountains. I think that's super important. And it fosters a great community.
Yeah. And it's not that hard. It's like, because when Rob and I were dating and he used to be in real estate, and I used to think it was really funny because I worked at the time for the company that developed the St. Regis Hotel. So I've always worked like 9 to 5 jobs. And I've always been someone who like wanted to be there first and last. Like I wanted, I just whatever. I don't know. I'm from Chicago. I'm like, I don't know what it is, but I've always been like that. And Rob would like not go to work until he skied first because he was in real estate. So he didn't have like a clock to punch. He could like do whatever.
Right.
He had all these responsibilities, and so he would go ski. I would get dressed and go to work. And I just told you that Rob and I were dating and living together. Sorry. I don't know. It's normal now. My parents knew. Rob's parents didn't know. So I hope they don't listen to this. Too bad we've been married for like 15 years and we have 3 kids. So anyway, he would get up and put on his ski stuff and go ski and then go to the office.
Yeah.
And I remember actually thinking like, I'm like, it's like, you're not working hard. But I did realize in that he did get a lot of work done and he could still do that. And so then as we started the business, and he still did that when we started the company and we were like, grinding it out, but he would still go ski in the mornings, but he would like, end up working later. And it's like, it's fine. It's fine. Like nothing bad happened. And then as we started hiring people and we would let people go ski on like a good ski day and they would come in later or whatever, like maybe we started doing those 4-10 shifts where people work 10 hours, 4 days a week instead of 9 hours, 5 days a week. And like, it was fine. And so I think like it's a lesson, I think for a lot of companies that like, it's okay to stray from like the normal scheduling if you can allow your team members to do the things they love because that's why they move there, whether you're on the beach or the mountains or whatever.
Yeah. And obviously it's important to make sure that they're still doing their job. This isn't just like, oh yeah, you can do whatever you want.
Right.
But it's, if you're still performing well, like there's no reason that there shouldn't be that sort of flexibility.
You can get your stuff done.
Yeah.
I mean, look, it does require you to find good people, which we've been lucky enough to do, like that you can rely on, that are responsible. So there's so many factors. Like this company culture stuff to me is like, you could talk about this for eons because it's like so complex. There's like so many parts to it.
Yeah. And I think it's so important to have that as a great foundation for the rest of the other parts of the business.
Because hospitality is like a huge drain.
Yeah.
Like taking care, and especially if you're luxury, this is all high net worth individuals. So these people are like working really hard or they have a lot of demands because they have paid, a shit ton of money. And as much as we all love helping people and making them happy, like there's no way that anyone would ever, anyone that I've ever met would say like, it's not draining. It's incredible. Even if you get off on making people happy, which I think we all do, like in this business or in this company, it's still draining. Like you have one day where you have like a really hard guest and you work really hard to make someone who's very unhappy, happy. And at the end of it, like when you made them happy, you're like, yes. But you're not just like energized after that. You're like, oh my God, I need a freaking nap or like 6 drinks or like, like, like it's a lot. And so then I think it's important for the company to think about understanding how you can like care for your team because you're literally sending them out to war every day. And it's not like a physical battle, but mentally, emotionally.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think also if they feel set up with a good team behind them and good ownership and all that, it makes those battles, just a little bit easier.
Is that okay? You think that's a
No,
bad? I
absolutely.
mean,
I sometimes feel like I'm going into war when I'm calling a guest who's
yeah,
unhappy, and I got to be ready for it and have my
totally.
ammunition but which actually that would be a great
And
segue into
like gear to protect yourself, right? Okay, segue. Go ahead. Do
well,
it.
so yeah, one of the parts of the job that I find most gratifying, also the most difficult, and sometimes I think those go hand in hand, is difficult guest diffusion.
Yeah,
And you kind of talked about it a little bit, but these are
he's gonna give us a nugget.
hopefully high net worth individuals that have a lot of high expectations. And sometimes conversations, it's usually not during booking. Usually there, and it's all good when you're talking about the beautiful home that you're going to rent to them for this, beautiful season, or,
Yeah.
and in this beautiful place. But when things don't go perfectly, I like to kind of think back to one of the first difficult guests that I had when I first started this job. We'll just call him T for now.
Okay.
But T had a lot of questions before booking and wanted to have a guarantee that there'd be snow for their ski and ski out access
I
house.
love this one.
Beautiful,
Yes.
beautiful home up in Deer Valley. Has awesome ski access, but it is dependent on natural snow. And,
Oh, wait. Let me clarify.
yeah.
Okay. So when he says that it has really good ski access, he means that you can ski from the house. You can leave the house and ski onto the slope, and or when you're skiing home, you can ski right from the slope into the house.
And this is one of those true ski in, ski out houses where you step out of the door and you step into your skis and then you ski down to the lift.
Yeah.
No walking or anything like that.
But
And then you
houses
ski
like that,
right back.
like depending on where they're located, a lot of the time they're not actually ski in, ski out unless we've had enough snow.
Yeah.
Because it's like, if we haven't had enough snow, like if you go to a ski resort, not all the runs have all the snow that they need to be skiable at the beginning of the ski season. Generally, it's like not till the middle of the ski season, say like January,
Yeah.
until all the runs on a mountain at a ski resort are skiable. Usually like the first month, like December and part of November, whatever. Like the ski resorts are going to open in Park City and in Jackson and Sun Valley, probably like Thanksgiving, but they're going to only have like one or two runs available.
And
so he's saying like this house that this guest booked it's an expensive house, I'm sure, because anything that's ski and ski out, that's like getting waterfront property. It's more expensive to buy or to rent, but different than waterfront property, which is always waterfront property.
Water there.
Ski and ski out is not always available to ski and ski out until all the runs have opened on the mountains, because, that ski and ski out house could be on a run that maybe isn't generally skiable until, say, January. Okay, that was my clarification.
Yeah, and thank you for clarifying. I know sometimes I get
no, it's okay. This is my job.
But and ultimately this worked out very well because the Christmas holiday is one of the biggest for us, and it's also the time where it's early season skiing sometimes, and sometimes we have a full, the whole mountain is open, and so you have these high end clients who come in and expect the whole mountain to be open, and kind of managing their expectations is very difficult.
Because they pay a lot for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And so they, no amount of money will make it snow. And so, but T wanted to have a guarantee that that there would be ski access for his home. And one of the big things that I learned from this, and it ended up in a lot of difficult conversations where, I had to tell him like, well, it's not guaranteed. This is, where this is Mother Nature we're talking about here. It could just not snow for the next 2 months. I don't know if I could predict the weather. Another thing I would
say. It's like saying when you go to the beach, like, I want to book this trip, but can you guarantee it won't rain? It's like, no.
Can you guarantee all the sunsets are going to be perfect? No, I can't.
Yeah. And then fight about it with
there will be some, absolutely, but I can't guarantee that all of them will be 10 out of 10. But kind of reading between the lines with T was one of the important things that I learned. It wasn't necessarily that ski and ski out access was the most important thing for him. He's managing a group. I think it was his family and his parents and his wife's parents. And so there's a big group and in-laws, big group that he had to manage the expectations of. And so all of that funnels down to him, and then it funnels directly over to me. So I get the full force of all the pressure that the rest of this group is putting on him. And being able to kind of read between the lines and understand it's not just Tom that cares about this. It's the rest of his group that cares about it. And now they're putting all of that weight on his shoulders.
Yeah.
And being able to see through that and, express empathy and work with him to kind of manage the expectations that he has that then he can pass along to the rest of the group.
Yeah.
Is the thing that I've used. And
okay, so like what? Like specifically, like tell me some things like that you said to him, or like things you were like, I don't know. For me, it'd be like when I'm in bed at night and then I have an idea of like, oh my God, I should tell them this. Like, so what are some of the
I think being on their side. So saying things like, I want it to snow.
Yeah.
Nonstop. And I truly do because I'm a big skier.
Yeah.
I want it to snow nonstop. And I really wish I could tell you that it's going to be the deepest season ever every year. And we're going to get nonstop snow and your ski access is guaranteed. But unfortunately,
write your senator and ask for cloud seeding. Just kidding.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I guess some amount of money could purchase your ski and ski out. But making sure that they understand that I want the best for them. I want their vacation to be perfect and I don't want anything to go wrong. And I want that ski access to be open. And letting them know that ultimately it's up to Mother Nature for a lot of that. And kind of getting them to understand the logic behind all of it.
Yeah.
Helps them to then relay that to the rest of their group.
Okay, was it available to ski and ski out when they were here? I don't remember.
Halfway through the trip.
Okay.
In like 2 or 3 days into their trip, it snowed like 2 or 3 feet. And they
How
had
long
ski
was
and
did they
ski
have
out.
a full week?
They had like 10 days or something like that.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they ended up having their ski and ski out.
Nice.
The first couple of days were tough,
Okay.
and we had a lot more difficult phone conversations because the rest of their group putting pressure on T to then put pressure on me.
Because like when someone's in the house and something like that happens, like this is common with us. We do manage like a lot of ski and ski out properties, or a decent amount. And then people show up, they don't have the access because the snow's not there. And then what happens next is it's like, this bedroom is cold. It's not as warm as the other bedrooms, or the hot tub is too hot, or right. Like this is when people start to get like crazy nitpicky.
Yeah.
Because they're pissy about the snow that we can't control. So then they feel dumb saying, how dare you not have enough snow for me? And so then they'll say like, I don't like, the driveway's too steep, or the like whatever. And then they just bitch about other things. Is that what happened? Or just like a general grumpiness?
I remember the other things that
Okay.
the main thing that I remember from T is that ski access. But because it was years ago. It was I think it was in the first year that I did this. So
you feel like the answer with that was like getting on his side?
Yeah, getting him to understand that, I want the best for him. And this applies to, many more things, but expressing empathy, but also, saying, look, I want you to come to Park City and have the best time ever. And I'm here to try and facilitate that. Once you can get them to understand that, those conversations become so much easier.
Yeah.
If the conversation is more about defending yourself or defending the company, then
Totally.
it no longer becomes it continues to be this battle that you've gone into. Whereas if you can get on their side and become their ally, then all of the conversations that might still be difficult become a lot easier.
You're totally just talking about like authenticity and connection, right? Like everything goes back to that, I feel like, because it's like we've been talking a lot about like within the company, and then just like Rob and I and Lenny and Hart have been talking about that concept of like service, hospitality, connection. Because when like we all love the book Unreasonable Hospitality, and we all love talking about hospitality, but then when you start to get to like, so how do you train hospitality, or like how do you explain it tactically? And it's like, no one really does that, because it's like, well, how do you explain that?
Yeah.
You could tell stories of examples, but if you were going to take out the stories, how do you explain it? It's kind of weird. And so one of the frameworks we came up with was like, okay, there's service. Have I told you this already? Okay, this is like, so you have to tell me what you think about this.
Okay.
Because this is like how I see it. And I don't know. We should really talk about this more within like our bigger team to see what everyone thinks. To me, it's like service is the idea of like a menu, and then that you do what you said you would do. So service is more like when you think of like a menu board at a restaurant, it's like you can have this, 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 or this for this price. And then providing a service would be to give the person what you told them you were going to give them for that price. So if you're talking about a restaurant, it's like a cheeseburger with all the toppings, is, and a sesame seed bun is, I don't know, $10. And then so to provide a good service would be to give the person that bought that exactly what you told them you were going to give them for the exact price. And then hospitality, I think, is going above and beyond. So like, it's not just the burger. Maybe it comes with fries, or you are really nice when you're explaining the burger and when you're giving it to them. And maybe you anticipate that they want a straw with their drink or like ketchup, and you put it in the bag. That's hospitality, right? Like kind of anticipating needs and going above and beyond. And then connection, I think, is like that's the secret sauce or whatever. Like connection is how do you explain really good hospitality, really good service that someone can feel? I think it's like when the person, the guest, whatever the receiver of the service, is telling the service provider what they need, and then the service provider is giving them what they asked for the amount of money, going above and beyond, and like building a two-way connection with them. Because like that's what you're talking about when T's mad, that instead of you being like, well, I told you could have this house for this much money for this many days, and you have it.
Yeah.
So buck up, but it's like giving them what you are giving them that. And you are going to like have a gift for them when they arrive, and you're going to check them in person and show them around.
Right.
But like, what's the thing that makes it special? Like, why does T leave a good review after that whole scenario? Is because like, if you are able to connect with him and be like, I hear you. Like, I like skiing too. I want there to be snow because I want to ski. Like, hearing the person, hearing what they want, and them understanding that you're like the two-way of it, like them feeling connection to you, understanding like who you are and that you authentically want to help them, and you understanding who they are, and you what I mean? Like the two-way thing of it, the connection, the belonging, whatever. To me, I think is like the ingredient of what makes really good hospitality. And that's what you're explaining.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's like when you can, anyone, even like on our ops team or housekeeping or whatever, it's like when someone takes the time to like actually care and show the guests that they actually care about whatever the request is or the need, and that even if they can't fulfill it, that they want to, they're trying. I think that's when like the magic happens. I don't know. So that's like what we're working on. We're working on book. And that's like what is in there. And I think right now we're calling that like the triple crown or the hospitality. I can't remember. We were trying to come up with names for it because it's service, hospitality, connection.
I like it.
But it's literally what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Right. Because it's like when I asked you before, like before we came on to record, and I was like, okay, like we want some things to explain to people, like tactics or ways to share how you provide good hospitality, how we do what we do at Abode. And you literally gave an example of like connection, because you were saying basically that what you do is try to connect with the guest so that they understand that they're heard, and they understand like you like skiing too, and that you understand what they want, and that you can both feel heard and understood. And like I think that's kind of hard to explain, but I think that's what it is. Does that make sense?
No, it does. And I think it applies to, obviously that example, but larger and smaller examples. Like I'm trying to think of, if a guest is displeased or if we've wronged them in some way, and we actually have, like let's say the house wasn't ready at 4 p.m. when we said it would be. And so, as a way to say sorry, we show up there with a bottle of wine in person, and we say, I'm so sorry that the house wasn't ready. And the bottle of wine is in like a little gift bag, and it has a handwritten note, and it gets a lot of appreciation from the guest. The way we could also do it is we show up, we ring the doorbell, we drop the bottle of wine, and we run away.
Right.
And so like if you have just the service of the bottle of wine,
or really,
they'll be like, we got a bottle of wine, but like, okay, that doesn't really say sorry. But it's the other factors of that kind of make it the triple crown. So
because it's like, to me, I mean, that we talked about this with Tilly on the last episode, but like when we used to in the very old days have the sales team check in every guest, so they would check in every person that they booked, and that was like the quintessential, because it was like the person would have been online searching for a place, we would have helped them find it, we would have booked them, and the person that they were talking to book their property was at the house when they arrived. Like, And I wish that we could like clone people or have like, I don't know, something so we could have enough people so that the people that were like selling to the guests could check them in. Cause I do think that is so good, but it's just so hard once you get beyond like 30 properties or 50. It's like, forget it. It's really hard. You don't use the manpower on it. And then, you can have other people check the guest in, which is what we do now. And it works. And it's really good, but it's so much cooler when it's the person they talk to, before. But it's, whatever, logistically impossible. But I feel like that's that connection too.
Yeah.
It's like, that's that thing that's so hard to explain to people. Cause that to me is like what's important to hospitality in any segment of hospitality. Like could be restaurants, could be development, could be event planning, hotels, vacation, like whatever, anything. But if you can get that connection with the person you're serving, that's like, and that goes back to like family too. It's like with your hospitality amongst your own team. Like that's the difference too. If you have to explain like, how do you have good company culture? It's like, you have to give the service of like, okay, I promised you were going to do this job for this much money. You have to do hospitality. Like, and I know you're going to want extra time off, and I know you're going to want to be able to ski. And I know, so like here you can do all these things because I know I'm anticipating your needs. But then there's the connection of like, and you're having a bad day today and it didn't go, like you maybe did not handle shit the way you wanted to today, but like, that's okay because you're a human and so am I. And like, sometimes that happens to me. And like, that's how you provide hospitality, like above and beyond amazing hospitality to your team or to your coworkers, is because you connect, and it's like, it's always that. But it's always so hard to explain because I feel like when I start to explain stuff like this, sometimes like more corporate minded people, they're kind of like, shut up. It's so woo. But it's like, I think it's the real answer. I'm pretty sure. I don't know for sure.
But I think you could write a book around that.
We are. We are. One day the book will come out. I don't know when because we're really busy. So yeah. But yeah. Okay, wait. I saw you taking notes. So what else?
I was just writing down service hospitality.
Oh yeah, the connection.
I think that's really good.
Did we cover everything you wanted to cover?
I think so. Without repeating what other people have said, I think Mark has.
You can repeat. It's okay. Well, like, we're all repeating after each other all the time.
But no, I think we covered what's really important to me, and hopefully I can provide some sort of additional information that wasn't out there.
Totally. Okay, wait. Have you listened to Tilly's and Mark's episodes?
No, I haven't.
You haven't? Okay.
No.
I need you to so I can show more listens. Just kidding.
Okay.
No, but also because they're really good.
Yeah.
Like, so I feel weird because when the episodes come out, I always listen to them right away.
Yeah.
And at first it was because I wanted to hear like myself because it's always so weird to hear yourself. So I wanted to make sure that I didn't sound like some naggy mom or like, which I do kind of. And I say like so much and it drives me crazy. And sometimes I think if I listen to myself more, then maybe I'll be better at that. It's not happening. But I do like to listen too because I want to hear the way other people sounded. And like, I tend to not give people enough time to talk. Like I talk so much. So I also feel like I have to keep listening to it so I can start to do better at letting other people talk more. But also I feel like we don't have to worry if we don't cover everything in these episodes because these episodes that we've done in our first season are we going to have a season of 10 episodes or 10. So are we at 10 now? Is this the 10th? 9. Okay. So we have one more and then we'll have a complete season. And this season I feel like it's focused on talking to people in our industry, basically. All these episodes we kind of, or at least I do, I have in my mind, I'm picturing listeners, all 3 of them, and they are in our industry. And so I think what we're going to do is after we do 10 episodes, then we're going to do another season of 10 more episodes, and we're going to have it be focused on homeowners. So we're going to be making sure that, because we could use the same 10 people, or if I can get other people on our team. I thought people on the team would love to do this. I was thinking when I started this, that people on the team would be like so eager to come and share their stories and their expertise. But it's funny, not everybody likes to talk as much as I do. And so people get weirded out, and it's a little bit harder than I thought to get people to come and talk on here. I think
it takes practice.
Well, yeah. And I
think some people just aren't used to talking into a microphone.
Like we're just talking in our break room. It's called the Hospitality Breakroom. And like, we're legit just sitting in our break room at our break room table, just talking. I mean, there's pretty much no one listening. So like, we're actually just having a conversation. And anyway, so I have struggled to get people to say yes to do this. Cause I think they're picturing that there's going to be like this huge audience of people watching them and they're freaking out. But it's like, no, we just started this. We're barely promoting it. So it's like, it's okay. We're just actually having a conversation and recording it. But so that first season was, basically theoretically focused on people in our industry that theoretically they would listen to this and maybe get something from it. I mean, not maybe, they totally would. If they would listen one day, they might. Like maybe we'll be like a famous artist where in 20 years or something, people will be like, someone will find these episodes and they'll become super famous. That would be fun. But until then, the next season we're going to do so that we're talking more focused on homeowners, because I was thinking that way too. We could use the episodes to share with homeowners, like on purpose via email, like distribution, so that if they want to get to know our team, all of this was meant to say, as I do my thing where I squirrel way out and come back, that you can come back on multiple more episodes, because I want to do a season on homeowner focus. And then I want to do a season on like guest focus. We could do a season. I mean, we could, like think about it. The ideas are endless, but initially we'll do one more episode like this and then homeowner focus and then guest focus. Because then if we have guest focused ones, then if there's a guest that's like, maybe they have questions about, I don't know, like we could have the concierge team on and they could, be talking and we could share that episode with guests. So that'd be like, oh, hey, we just did a podcast on all this concierge stuff that we offer and we could email that out to guests. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Anyway, so many ideas. We can brainstorm later. Okay. But is there anything else through all that rambling that I just did that made you think of another idea you want to share?
Oh, no, not
okay.
really.
It's okay.
Yeah.
As they come to you, like tonight, as you're going,
I'll be back.
Yeah. My idea is always like come when I'm taking a shower, when I'm going to bed, when I'm driving. Do you have ideas like that? Yeah. So then when you have those, then I text myself because I'm 46, almost 47. And that's what old people do. But you probably like put it in your notes app or like maybe voice record it. I don't know. What do you do when you have an idea?
Try to write it down because if I don't write it down, then it'll just get bumped out by the next idea.
Okay. So Chris is like an old person. Okay. But so write them down because then we could do more. Because I feel like our team and you and everyone has like so much good knowledge and they just need to share it. But sometimes it's like a geode, like you can't get in there and then you have to get anyway. So once you break it open, write it down.
I think this season is cracking the seal for a lot of people. So cracking open some of these geodes.
Yeah. No, I feel like especially the later episodes, like people are they're liking it more and they're like opening up more. In the beginning, it was kind of hard to like people were kind of like, yeah. We'll get there. Okay. So I think we're going to call it. I think this is our 9th episode in completion. So, thank you to all of our listeners. I know it's probably my mom, maybe like someone from Chris's family. Chris will listen. And then, I mean, there are hundreds of people that have listened to this show. So literally more than I forget how many, but I think it's more than 200, something like that. Like that's legitimately actually true.
Cool.
So anyway, for all of the people that are listening, thank you for listening and come back again because we have one more episode in the season. And that's all we have today for the Hospitality Breakroom. And we'll see you next time.